Fast du? Twyla questioned, but Jasmine could tell from the little smile that wanted to peek through. Twyla was interested. Jasmine came up with a plan that was risky, but if it worked, then it would be worth it. Using the knowledge that Uva feared the money his wife and his four teenage children would receive if his wife left him on the grounds of adultery, Jasmine put a plan in motion. It was really nothing that hadn't been done on TV shows like Dallas or Dynasty, and it might be where Jasmine drew the idea from, but it worked perfectly. 2 weeks later, the attorney friend who had attended one of Twyla's dinner parties and who was crazy about Twyla drew up necessary contracts to turn over ownership of the building they lived in to Twyla Allen. How that came about was when Uva arrived that evening, and Jasmine made sure to have the music loud enough, and Twyla took care of the lights, making sure to keep Uva's face in the light of the small reading lamp on Twyla's nightstand. The music had to be so loud that Uva couldn't hear the wouldn't hear the click of the camera shutter as Jasmine took shot after shot of Uva's ugly ass literally sprawled out on Twyla's bed. Twyla was in different positions on top, with her long hair always in her face, so that she could not be identified, doing him like she had never done him before. Jasmine had promised Twyla that it would be the last time. When Uva arrived 4 nights later to shake a groove thing again, Twyla presented him with the photos and swore they would make headlines in every tabloid in the country if he didn't cooperate. She presented him with the papers that Giron, the attorney, now a frequent companion of Twyla, had worked on. His signature? Or business, political, and personal life ruined. After accepting the package containing the negatives and other photos, Uva signed. The contract meant that Twyla now owned the building and would receive a cash settlement of 250 marks. Twyla promised, in front of their 4 other guests at the dinner party they threw to celebrate, that Jasmine could have the second floor of the 4-story building as soon as Twyla had it renovated, rent free, for life. And she wasn't drunk or anything. It was mid April now, and renovations were going at a snail's pace. Jasmine was growing impatient with that and became even more frustrated after she saw the renovations to the bathroom that was off Twyla's room. And Twyla promised to duplicate her future bathroom downstairs in ivory instead of the black marble in Twyla's bathroom. It was early spring. After a night with Twyla, Lisa, and Sasha, Jasmine had done some good hanging and told Twyla so the following afternoon, when they both finally woke up, Twyla got up, washed, and mumbled something about the music cafe the night before, which she needed to forget. The drummer from David Bowie's latest band had been there. He performed Heartbreak Hotel, and Twyla and Lisa laughed at that man singing. Jasmine was embarrassed for him, the way the drunken two carried on. That's when Jasmine didn't like about hanging with Twyla. Some people would get drunk and get stupid. Twyla would get drunk and get retarded. After the two found out he was drumming for Bowie, they tried to get next to him, but he wasn't having it. The three were seated at a table just in front of the stage, and she was sure Soupy Cell's son heard the cackling duo. Twyla got herself ready for her Saturday night out, all the time begging Jasmine to join her. But Jasmine had already made plans to give herself a much needed pedicure and manicure and just relax a bit on one of the few Saturday nights she had to herself once she had begun working with the band. Twyla headed for the front door in her orange platform patent leather heels, denim miniskirt, and a long sleeve orange silk t shirt braless. Then she suddenly stopped in her tracks and pivoted toward her room as if she'd forgotten something. She went She went in briefly, then returned with a small envelope and a larger brown envelope in her hands, along with her keys. "They're in my room for 3 days," Twyla said, using the European way of counting, starting with the thumb as one. "I get from the earth," she said hesitantly. "The floor? You get them from the floor, not the earth?" Jasmine was beginning to give Twyla some much needed instruction in English. She was thinking about Twyla helping her with Deutsch, but didn't want to end up speaking splib Deutsch since Tyler confessed to never doing well in school. Jasmine took it upon herself to start correcting Twyla whenever it was absolutely less necessary, like now. Twyla coyly handed Jasmine the envelope, adding, "Bitte, Jasmine, you take." Then she waved a good night and was out the door before Jasmine could respond. Jasmine quickly opened the white envelope first, not even checking to see if there was a return address. Inside, there was just a single piece of typing paper, folded in quarters to resemble a greeting card. On the inside, someone had typed 3 words: "God sees all." Jasmine looked at the words as if they were cryptic. That was when she grabbed the envelope and saw there was no return address. But the red stamp read that it was posted from Frankfurt. With 2 seconds to think about it, Jasmine said, "Marcus." She was convinced it was either him or his evil twin, the one who showed his psycho face at the Bahnhof station all those months ago. "Weak attempt, Marcus," Jasmine mumbled as she tossed the envelope and card on the dining table without a second thought. She took the other envelope with her to the kitchen and gently shook out its contents on the kitchen counter. It contained 1 cassette tape in its case and a short note that read, "I think you should hear this." No signature. Jasmine quickly read the label for the return address and saw that it was from Soul Cool, aka Jericho Daniels, the keyboard player and lead vocalist, the leader of the band. Jericho never missed a chance at an income tax deduction. The postage being as expensive as it is in Germany, one letter from Munich to America cost Jasmine 4 marks and 80 pfennig. Jasmine was curious, but wasn't in a hurry to hear it. The return address being from Jericho, that meant it probably was more of the tired Lionel Richie tunes Jericho always insisted she learned the background for. She was a lukewarm fan of Richie before having to do a Lionel Richie medley for 30 minutes each night she performed with Soul Cool. Now Richie was beginning to wear thin with Jasmine, but the German audiences loved it, so Jasmine grinned and bared it. But in the last few rehearsals, they were adding 2 originals of Sven's, and Jericho was considering a rock tune the drummer came up with. Jasmine had half suggested they do a couple of tunes she had worked on recently, but she knew it would take either Jericho or the guitar player to work with her on it. Since Jasmine didn't play an instrument or read music, but like Jericho told her, some people know every note and study for years, but still couldn't do what Jasmine could do with her voice. Jasmine cleaned out the white tub that looked like you could bathe a small infant in, but that Frau Brooke used to keep her plastic gloves, a few clean rags, and the assorted cleaners she used to get her apartment clean, and decided it was perfect after standing in it for her foot bath, adding a little peroxide to the water after making a mug of mint tea and letting it steep. Jasmine went from preparing for her foot bath ritual.